So welcome back to part 2 of the Without You Coldabank remake. Today we're going to be covering the chorus, but in the last video we covered a really short part of the second or third verse in the song, just because I felt like there was a lot of different elements we could pick out and kind of go through. So here's what we did. Alright, so let's move straight into the drops. So starting things off with the bass sound, and our first preset is called Wrestle, playing this MIDI here. So as you can see, there's a little bit of offbeat action here on these two parts here. So what I did is just highlighted both of these. Alt cue, a bit of shuffle. I think I've done about 30–40%. So that just kind of gets it a little bit off the grid. But I believe the rest of the notes are all straight up on the grid. And the second preset is called Advance from Car Music Vol.1, and this is kind of just adding a bit more of like a top end to the whole sound. Next up, we've got a really subtle element, which is kind of like these brassy bass stabs which sit under the bass. So here's the MIDI we've got for it, and the preset I'm using to do this is a synth called Love in Car Music Vol.1. And then on top of that, we've got this one here called Another Home, which is a lead sound. But this is just being used to give it that really gritty, noisy analog texture. So together we have this. And with the bass. Now we're going to get some drums in here, and starting with the Car Music Vol.3 kick, which is kick number 7. So I faded out the out on here a little bit just so you don't get a massive tail on the kick. And here you can see the processing I've got for this kick. So I've taken out a little bit of boxiness around here, added a little bit of top end in there, and then also boosted a bit around 100 Hz so you get a bit more of like a punchy kind of low end heavy sound. We've then got the claps from the previous part if you want to go and check the samples specifically. And as you can see, we've got various little placements here on the grid, so just kind of doing random patterns with the claps. I've then added the other clap from the previous section and then introduced this new one here, which is more of like a smacky clap. So this is how all the drums so far sound. And then we've got these random hit ones here which come every 2 bars, I think. Now we're going to introduce some hi-hats. We've got these really short decayed close hi-hats from Car Music Vol.4. And then we've got these Fish in the Lake Vol.3 hi-hat loops, which again, such a good pack if you want to get hi-hat loops that are just perfect to just drop straight in the project. And then we've got these offbeat snare hits, which are really nice. Again, kind of like old school 808 sounding snares. And then I've also introduced part of the snare fill from the last part and just chopped it up completely, so it adds a little fill element here right before we hit the second half. We've then got some crashes and downlifters, which I've introduced here to really mark the impact of the start of the drop. And then one of the last elements we're adding here is some piano chords on the second half of the drops, pretty much copying the same chords as what we had in the last part where we did the synths. But I've kind of adapted the MIDI a bit so it's more of like a chord rather than just 2 notes being played. And then as you can see on these random offbeat hits here, we've got some stabs, some piano chord stabs. And so this is being done by an FLP's preset. Again, I'm just using the E piano set, I believe. And then when it comes to the processing on this, I really wanted to get the wide kind of sound on the chorus for these stabs and like piano chords. So I've boosted this to 162, kept everything below 100 Hz in mono, and that's kind of it for that. And then the final element that's missing here is the ARP, which we visited in the last part. So I've just thrown that in, and we've got some kickstart on there as well. And as we approach the end of the chorus, we have these kind of crashes here that are making a bit of a fill section. And we've also got this clap fill, which I've taken from Fish in the Lake Vol.3. So we're also going to take a quick look at the drum processing now before I forget as well. And so we're starting this chain with the CLA compressor. And then some OTT to add some top end and a bit of air to the whole drum bus. But this EQ right here is probably the key element of the sound, because we've got some really nice tight boosts here which are boosting basically all the sub and kick frequencies. So without the EQ it sounds like this. And with it. But that's everything for the whole production. I hope you guys enjoyed this one and found it useful. Make sure you hit the like button if you did enjoy it, and also subscribe so you don't miss our future videos. But without any further ado, let's go and take a listen back to the whole thing.